You're listening to Bizarre Buffet, a podcast of all-you-can-eat weird. I'm your host, Mark Torriello.
I'm Jen Wilson.
And I'm Mark Bluestein.
There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited.
When we first went in, one of the people said, "Who are you?" And Tex said, "I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business."
Hi.
Hi, it's me, Connie Britton.
Hey guys, we're back.
Hey,
Hi.
so we were just having a discussion right before I pressed record. The debate is it Martin Scorsese or Martin Scorsese? Message us. Let us know.
Let us know on Instagram, Facebook.
We're just wondering.
We're just wondering.
I just want to know. I feel like Scorsese is how the art folk want you to say
believe
it.
it's Scorsese.
But I say Scorsese.
I say Scorsese.
Scorsese.
Oh, Jesus
I
Christ,
say
that's a hard one.
Scorsese.
Scorsese.
Scorsese. Let us know anyway.
Yeah,
like
let
Jen
us know.
said. Yeah.
For this episode.
Mark, where are you taking us tonight?
Where are we going?
All right, so for the record, I'm wearing a jacket that I designed.
Of course.
Yes.
Always.
We would,
Of
we would
course.
not.
we would expect nothing less.
That's
We would
right.
only hope. So, anyone listening, I'm wearing like a denim jacket and there's like a digital print of chains that create this like labyrinth. We'll put a picture of a model
We will.
in the jacket. Admire its
Can't
beauty.
wait.
Can't
So,
wait.
because I'm wearing one of my own designs, I would like to take us to maybe Fashion Week. Maybe. Kind of.
Oh my God, I love this.
Fashion Week.
We're going to Fashion Week.
Okay, when, where?
The darker side of Fashion Week.
Oh, God.
But-
What does that mean?
Before we attend, I would just like to know what everyone's favorite fashion brand or designer is.
I love Alexander McQueen. I always have loved him. I am like obsessed with his work. I love how avant-garde it is. And
Yeah.
it's so much more like a production. Like
Yeah.
his fashion shows are literally theatrical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like my favorite, and I forget the name of the show that he did, but the floor was a chess piece.
Oh.
And all of the models were like players, like chess pieces.
That's, yeah.
And the way they like moved, it was like they were playing a fucking game of chess. It was
Wow.
brilliant.
Yeah.
I
That's
saw
really cool.
his exhibit at the Met many years ago, Savage Love.
I wanted to go to that so bad. I'm very jealous.
And then there was this like play that was on in the West End in London for a hot second called McQueen. It didn't do very well.
I never
There
knew
was a
that.
play?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay.
It wasn't that great, but
Wow.
anyway. What about you, Mark?
Oh my God.
Mark with a C.
Mark with a C. Hi. I like a few different designers.
Oh, and I would just like to say that my dream is to have an Alexander McQueen wedding dress. Continue.
We'll find you one. We're gonna find
we're
you
going
one.
to the outlet.
We're
gonna
going to
make
the
that shit
outlet.
happen.
We can just
eBay.com.
steal Kate Middleton's dress.
There, absolutely.
Mark?
I think for me, I love a few designers. Maison Margiela, Rick Owens, Dries Van Noten. I like a lot of people who are more weird, like Comme des Garçons, deconstructed,
Yes.
more emotional, raw, avant-garde, all those things. It speaks to me. I like the uglier things.
Yeah.
But beautiful.
But it's like beautiful at the same time.
Exactly. I like things that look like, did it go through a lawnmower? Maybe. But did it cost a lot of money? Maybe. But I bought it at an outlet because I don't go to the full price. I can't afford it.
Yeah.
The lawnmowers on the runway.
Lawnmowers on the runway, lawnmowers on the runway, kitty cat, 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 cat.
We're all voguing. If you are not listening, I mean watching.
I mean, watching.
I just did a death drop.
Yeah, yeah. Did you hear it?
I wish I
Did
could.
you hear it on the recording?
I think for me, Mark and I have a similar aesthetic.
We
So,
do.
of course, like the same designers Mark referenced are part of my favorites.
Yeah.
In terms of brands, I love Balmain because Balmain does like this
like,
exaggerated
yeah.
1980s shoulder.
It's like women,
my
business
favorite.
women doing it for
The
themselves.
Kardashians
Yeah.
wear them a lot.
Oh, well, that just...
The Kardashians like make it look cheap.
Yeah,
But I
they
love,
make it... Fashion
I love
Nova.
Beaumont. And
Yeah.
in terms of like a specific individual, there's a gentleman named Nicolas Geschier. He used to design for Balenciaga in like the early 2000s. Amazing, iconic,
Hey, Nick.
legendary.
Hey.
Now he's like the women's ready-to-wear creative director for Louis Vuitton. And he does fabulous work. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah, he
and I
does.
love Eddie Slimane for Saint Laurent.
Yes, Eddie.
Eddie, hi Eddie. I
Yeah,
used to work for you. I used to work with Eddie.
Bonjour.
Yeah, bonjour. Many years ago, when I worked for Saint Laurent, when Eddie Slimane was the creative director, they used to call me Lil Eddie.
You have the look.
I did.
Yeah.
30 pounds ago. So anyways, we're talking about fashion because our topic is about fashion.
Okay.
But it is Bizarre Buffet, so it's going to have an unusual or dark turn.
Oh.
So for the topic of this episode, I would like to talk about a trend that specific fashion designers followed, and this trend was a suicide trend of hanging themselves.
Oh my God, Alexander McQueen.
Oh, Jen, you.
I cracked the case.
You cracked the goddamn case.
Jen is. I swear to God, Jen.
So we're going to talk about different fashion designers that committed suicide
I
via
can't
hanging.
wait.
And the first one we're going to talk about is Alexander McQueen.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. McQueen.
And
He is one,
to-
like, he's amazing.
To honor his memory, I'm wearing a pair of Alexander McQueen sneakers.
Oh my God.
my
Show
God.
him.
They're beautiful.
Insert photo.
Yeah,
Here.
insert.
I almost
Mark.
cried when I got them.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
Frankenstein in the form of
They're
a
great.
sneaker.
I love them.
Yeah.
I want a pair.
No, we'll get you one.
Jerry.
Yeah.
Jerry, listen.
Let's get into it. So the first fashion designer we are going to talk about is Alexander McQueen. Very unusual life, very interesting life.
So it's funny, Mark, that you're bringing this up because the play that I said earlier that I saw called McQueen literally revolves around his suicide. It takes place in his like little, I guess, what do you call it? Like factory?
yeah.
Yeah.
It takes place in his factory and he's literally about to hang himself. He like has the news, he's ready to go, and then this girl climbs in through the window and is like, don't do it. And she's like been like standing in a tree for fucking months watching him because she was obsessed. And then they like go on this weird journey. It got very after school, especially like very quick.
I can imagine.
And they went on this like journey and he takes her back in time. It was really fucking, yeah.
Did she save him?
She essentially does save him, but you know what his fate winds up being in the end anyway.
She wasn't that effective.
No,
What's
she
the word?
wasn't.
Gratuitous.
Yeah. It didn't last long in the UK.
He like was able to bang out one more fashion collection.
Only thing about it that was really cool was like during scene changes, they had like dancers that were models that were like in McQueen outfits.
Oh,
like,
cool.
Kind of like moving around the stage like they were models.
With nooses?
They must have a high
no
budget.
nooses. No nooses.
That sounds kind of cool.
I mean,
I love a McQueen look.
I think it's neat.
It was a neat concept until like the girl came in through the window.
From the tree.
Yes, from the tree.
From the Shake the Tree.
Shake the tree.
Shake the McQueen tree.
Let's talk about some of these designers.
Let's shake this McQueen tree.
Born Lee Alexander McQueen on March 17th, 1969, and he was found dead February 11th, 2010. We're going to talk a little bit about his life because certain things about his life did influence his design aesthetic, which we all love on Bizarre Buffet.
Yes.
He was originally a British fashion designer who started his own fashion label in the early 90s. Growing up, his father worked as a taxi driver and his mom was a teacher.
Taxi drivers in the UK actually make pretty decent money.
Oh, I didn't know
They're
that.
on salary.
Okay.
Get it. At an early age, Alexander McQueen, or Lee, took an interest in clothing, and he would experiment and design dresses for his three sisters since he was one of 6 children. One of his earliest memories was when he was 3 years old, he decided to draw a dress on the wall.
Wow.
Cute.
Very
Right?
cute.
So cute.
So cute.
So cute.
When he was 16 years old, he left school. He took a course in tailoring and went to have an apprenticeship as a tailor, where he soon evolved into being like a pattern maker For Gives and Hawks, which was basically like a high-end men's suiting tailoring company.
Gives and Hawks.
And if anyone doesn't know what like pattern making is, it's like the flat shapes that you cut.
It's like before the clothing becomes three-dimensional on you. It's like what its original form is.
It's like a blueprint.
Yeah,
like an
perfect.
architectural layout
A blueprint.
for a garment.
Yeah.
So he like mastered that, which is a fucking pain in the ass. Like I cannot pattern make to save my life. He ended up working for this like high-end, suiting company, and allegedly while he was working for this high-end company, he constructed blazers for Prince Charles where he actually sewed obscenities into the lining of the suits.
Oh.
Allegedly, but it can't be proven. At the age of 20, he ended up attending Central St. Martin's College for Art and Design, where he received an MFA in fashion design, and this was back in 1992. This school is really known for having avant-garde conceptual fashion designers. So a lot of times when you're on like social media or the internet and you see like a weird outfit and it looks like a ceramic condom, it's coming from that school.
It's really fun going down a YouTube rabbit hole and just watching his fashion shows.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of great stuff out there.
When he graduated the school, he did like a fashion collection upon graduating. The collection was called Jack the Ripper Stalks His Victims, which captured the attention of a fashion socialite by the name of Isabella Blow, who soon began to wear his pieces, creating like a little bit of a buzz for Alexander, and they started a friendship.
She was like a person where send a celebrity this thing you designed, and if they wear it.
Well, that's like another memorable moment too, is like at the Met Gala many years ago when Sarah Jessica Parker wore, it was like the tartan.
Yep, the tartan plaid.
Yeah.
Plaid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, I know my shoe.
You do. Yes, girl.
Yes.
Yes, fashion crew.
Jenny McQueen.
Jenny McQueen.
Because he was, such an artist and a, very specific type of designer, he did struggle with money, and he ended up living in the basement of Blow's house, that fashion socialite.
Yeah.
By house, it was probably a fucking mansion. By basement, it was probably like a whole entire
It was probably
floor.
like an apartment in a basement.
Yeah. Like, I highly doubt there was like exposed pipes.
I mean, yeah.
Just being real here.
Putting it out there.
While he was living in her quote-unquote basement, he did put together a fashion collection, and it was called Taxi Driver.
Oh.
Inspired by the Martin Scorsese.
What? Shut the fuck up. Shut up.
Shut up. That's such a good movie. That's like, oh my God.
Jodie Foster me.
Yep.
Robert De Niro.
And let's just talk about Jodie.
And we were talking about how to pronounce his last name.
We were. And also,
I can't believe that.
we need to take a moment for this.
This is a sign because we should all just go to the Alexander McQueen store.
I don't even know how we started on the Martin Scorsese thing. And then
I don't remember.
And then you inadvertently said your McQueen story. Yeah. So there's a lot of weirdness happening. Yeah.
Well, let's just say I'm glad that I didn't pick this as my topic this week.
But also, too, his father was a taxi cab driver. So
he was.
Wow.
There was like a little bit of a parallel. So he put together this collection called like Taxi Driver.
Which you said inspired by the Scorsese film.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he presented the collection on a rack in a small room at the Ritz Hotel. So it was before he had these elaborate productions that we all know and love. The clothes were stolen. So this collection was really never documented. Allegedly, it is said that he sewed his own locks of hair into the clothes to serve as a label.
That's so cool.
Isn't that so cool?
That is really cool.
So as time progressed, he gained more and more of a following due to his equally conceptual and controversial fashion collections with titles such as Highland Rape, where models wore clothes that were slashed and torn with spatters of fake blood. Oh. This was supposed to be like an empowering collection because he wanted people to be afraid of the women that was dressed in his clothing. It was kind of misunderstood as misogynistic.
Yeah.
But that was not his point, so don't come for us.
You take risks in art and fashion.
Yeah.
You do.
we
You
take
definitely do.
we take risks in every episode we do.
And as Tim Gunn says, make it work.
He made it work, girl.
Designers make it work.
Designers make it work. So later down the line, he becomes the creative director for Givenchy. Givenchy.
We love it. Bonjour.
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 Where his designs were not really well received for the iconic fashion label. He continued on with this line where he had many of these like iconic moments. There was this one moment where a model was wearing this white dress, which was spray painted by a robot.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's really
So
fucking
like
cool.
she's on this like rotating pedestal, and this was like the end of the show, and as
Yeah.
she's rotating this like robotic, like mechanical
The
arm
paint gun
thing.
was just
Yeah.
Spray painting neon green and black.
that
paint.
dress was in the exhibit,
Oh, you're so lucky you got to see that.
Wow. That's so fucking cool.
and they recreated the chess board. Like you walked into one
No,
of the
they
rooms
didn't.
that had the chess
Oh
board.
my god.
It was probably one of the best exhibits I've ever been to.
That is amazing. Like really. That's really fucking cool.
Another
I
like
love him so much.
another iconic moment of his was he did this one fashion show or this runway production, which is one of my favorites, where he had all of the models. Like, they looked very, like, psychotic. They were walking around in a glass tank.
Yes.
Where they were, on the outside, there was a mirror, and the audience could see into the tank, but the models could not see outside of the tank.
That's so interesting.
So they couldn't see the audience. And really amazing pieces of clothing came out of that. Aside from, like, the great, highly conceptual shows that he did, a lot of celebrities wore his pieces. Like, Bjork, David Bowie, Lady
Was
Gaga.
her swan dress McQueen?
No, it was not a McQueen dress.
I thought it was.
No, I forgot the designer, but
It wasn't McQueen.
It wasn't, but she wore a lot of his work. With McQueen, a lot of his signature look was his dark themes of death and romanticism that was depicted in these very exaggerated silhouettes with really expert level detailing and construction.
And you know what though? Like something else is like I love the music selection that went with every single one of his
Yes.
shows.
Yeah.
It kind of contradicted like
Yeah.
what was being presented.
He also used a lot of skeleton imagery, which was basically like a literal interpretation of like death. And he did a lot of these like abstract kaleidoscopic prints that were like, you know, of spinal columns or butterfly wings.
Yeah.
Now that like we understand like the aesthetic and all of that stuff, he did become a very successful designer, but with all of these successes, he was still a human and he still had a lot of life struggles, which pretty much, in my opinion, influenced some of his designs.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. You could see his pain in his work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And part of his pain at an early age, he did come out as gay to his family, which wasn't easily accepted. He also said he was sexually abused from his brother-in-law at an early age.
Oh.
And in the year 2000, he had a marriage ceremony in Spain. It wasn't really legal at the time, so it was just like a ceremony to his boyfriend, George Forsyth, who was a documentary filmmaker. But a year later, that relationship came to an end. Alexander McQueen also was HIV positive at a time where it was more taboo and there was like less progressive drugs than there are now.
I was going to say too, it was like he was born around a time where it was like he was like there at the height of the AIDS epidemic, and it was a time where like being openly gay was not really accepted.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, he was born at a weird time.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't accepted, but like things were getting better, but it was still wasn't good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a little bit later in 2007, his friend Isabella Blow, the socialite that wore his pieces, that really was like supportive of his career, she committed suicide by drinking weed killer.
Fuck.
Like
not like the good weed.
outdoor weed.
Like outdoor.
Yeah.
Like plant.
I did not know that was what she did.
Yeah, she killed herself that way. I believe
honey.
if my memory serves me correctly, I think she might have had cancer, and I think she took her life that way. A few years later, on February 3rd, the day before Mark's birthday,
Once again, all terrible things.
Alexander McQueen lost his mother, which he was really close with. 8 days after the death of his mother, Alexander McQueen was found dead on February 11th from his housekeeper. He'd hung himself in his closet or wardrobe or...
Yeah, whatever mansions have.
Yeah, whatever. An entire room dedicated to beautiful clothes.
Yeah.
Friends of his say that around the time of his death, he was heavily involved with drugs. He also battled anxiety and depressive disorder, where he actually had 2 suicide attempts by drug overdose, both in May and July of 2009. One really interesting thing that happened after his death was a conceptual art piece was made by a woman named Tina Gorjanik, to which she made quote-unquote human leather from, it was basically pig leather / McQueen's DNA cells that she had somehow acquired from one of his earlier fashion collections, because he used to put pieces of like himself.
So she grew this pig leather in.
Wouldn't he also like put like pieces of his like his own clothing into his?
I'm sure he did.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
That sounds like it would be a thing.
Yeah.
But she like made this leather that was grown in a lab that was eventually tanned and tattooed, because he had tattoos as well.
Oh, they replicated the tattoo.
They replicated the tattoos on this leather. It was designed to look like his skin. Now, McQueen's parents did not condone the use of his personal DNA for fashion projects.
I bet.
I would assume not.
Yeah.
But they did acknowledge that this project is exactly the sort of fashion experiments that he would have enjoyed.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm glad that at least his parents honored that.
Yeah, they validated that, like, he would have done this or appreciated this.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
and like I remember like in a past episode we were like, oh, what do we want to happen to our bodies when we're dead? And I was like,
somebody to fuck it. No.
Well, I'll do that. But
thank you.
I was like, I was like,
You want it? I remember
I
you
want my
saying that.
body to be made into clothes, and it has nothing to do with Alexander McQueen. I didn't actually know that happened.
Yeah.
Until, recently.
Wow.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the next designer, and this won't be like McQueen is such a like.
Yeah, he's
Big.
Yeah.
Thing. You could do an entire episode on his life.
You could do an
everything.
entire season.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that segment that you just did was better than the McQueen HBO documentary that we watched.
It
was awful.
I'm gonna put that out there.
Go
I still
ahead.
haven't seen that because I feel like I would get too emotional.
Well, you know what? You might feel annoyed instead of emotional.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I still like I remember when it came out and I just was like I feel like it's like the same with like the Amy Winehouse documentary, which I still have not watched.
Are we ready for the next designer?
Yeah.
Ready.
All right. The next designer that we're going to talk about is Loren Scott. She killed herself in 2014. Just a little background about her. Loren Scott was born in April of 1968. She died March 2014. Loren Scott was an American model originally. She was a fashion designer and a stylist. Her original name was Laura Bambrough.
I can see why she changed it.
I would change it too if
I
that
would
was my
too.
last name.
Laura Bambrough, which was given to her from her Mormon adoptive parents. Mormon.
Wow.
Yup.
Keep sweet, pray, obey.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So by the age of 12, she grew to being 6 feet tall.
At 12?
At 12,
She was 6 feet
she was a
tall.
tall
at
girl.
12.
That was a big girl.
Big girl.
Wow.
Well,
All
that's why
right.
she was like a model.
Yeah,
Yeah.
clearly.
The fashion industry loves a tall
They do. A tall, leggy
person.
gal.
Yeah.
Ew.
At 16 years old, she was spotted by photographer Bruce Weber.
He's famous.
He is famous. And
Very
also, he
famous.
advised her to go to Paris. So 1 year later, she purchased a one-way ticket to Paris after telling her parents she was just going to New York.
Oh, you cheeky girl.
Yeah.
Cheeky little gal.
So during this time, she worked for Paris-based agencies where she went to work for designers like Terry Mugler.
Oh, R.I.P. Terry.
And, you know, the fashion brand Chanel. She was also a model for photographers like Guy Bourdin and Jean-Paul Goude.
Oh, we love Jean-Paul Goude. Mark was wearing a Grace Jones shirt in the last episode, and they were not married, but together. They had a
I
kid.
love Grace Jones. Pull up to the bumper.
Pull up to my bumper, baby.
Jean-Paul Goude did a lot of great creative work.
Oh,
in
he did
collaboration
fantastic
with
work.
Grace Jones. I think his best work was with Grace Jones.
His work,
my
his
opinion.
good work ended with Grace.
Yeah. Lauren Scott's first commercial success, she was a set of legs for a pantyhose ad.
Just legs.
For Pretty Polly hosiery ads.
But you know what's really funny that you bring that up? Because when I was getting my nails done, like we were talking, because they always like to take a picture like of my nails after they're done.
Yeah.
And the way like they pose it, I always joke and I'm like, hand models make really good money.
I'm sure they do.
Like I should just do this for a living. I come every 2 weeks and I do
Just
like,
show them,
hands.
And I'm sure legs do too.
I'm sure legs make good
Yeah.
money too.
I guess in the ad, it was like a clock. The clock had a set of legs with pantyhose. And
Cute.
Very
it was
cute.
her
I like
leg-
that.
It was her legs.
I like it.
So in the early 90s, she ended up moving back to California, where she established herself as a fashion stylist. Here, she was able to land a gig where she styled Elizabeth Taylor in her White Diamonds campaign.
Oh, these have always brought me luck.
That fragrance happens to be like the world's top-selling celebrity fragrance.
Well, it smells like
Every old lady.
It smells like what's her name? Isabella Blow ingested.
Oh, it smells like weed killer?
Yes.
I'm sure it does.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
She also designed clothing for the remake of this French film called Diabolique.
Oh, really? The
Yes,
Sharon Stone
the
one?
Sharon Stone
Oh,
one.
shit.
Sharon Stone and I had a moment.
Say what?
Oh, my God.
How did you have a moment with Sharon
So
Stone?
I did extra work for this film that had Sharon Stone in it. There were who else? Christopher Walken, John Turturro,
Christopher
fucking
Walken?
Rosie Perez was in it. Oh God, Alicia
Soul Train.
Silverstone, Felicia Rashad. It was like. Yeah, they always have to take pictures of the extras in their costumes.
Okay.
Just for portfolio reasons. And I guess they were really behind schedule. So Sharon Stone took the camera from wardrobe and started taking all of our pictures, and Sharon Stone literally took my picture.
She's a
first of all,
fucking
that's
team
awesome.
player.
fucking
Wow.
team
That is
player.
awesome.
Wow.
But number two, she showed up to work.
She did.
She did.
She's an industry gal.
Wow.
So that's my Sharon Stone story. Continue.
Oh my God, that is so cool.
It was worth doing this episode just
to hear
this
that.
story, Jen. Thank you.
That was many moons ago.
Oh my God.
yeah.
I was still
I
in
mean,
college.
That's so cool.
Sharon Stone was in this film called Diabolique.
Yeah.
Which I fucking love that movie. So Lauren Scott also designed some of the wardrobe or costume pieces for Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh.
Another great film.
Wow. Okay.
Stanley Kubrick, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Oh my God.
And
Lauren Scott also had a lot of celebrity clients. You know, she styled Madonna. She also styled Julia Roberts. In more recent times, she was more well known for her collaboration with Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger for designing his costumes for the Rolling Stones tours. Some of these designs was like a gorilla coat covered in ostrich feathers.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yup. She did this really elaborate gold embroidered jacket too that was inspired by the artist Gustav Klimt.
oh, Klimt.
Klimt is a great artist too. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Putting some
Klimt.
Klimt photos
Yeah. Insert Klimt
in
for
the
YouTube.
video.
Yeah,
Yeah,
love
insert
it.
Klimt.
Yeah, it's me on a Klimt body.
And me too.
Yeah,
And-
we're in the.
All of us in Klimt.
She ended up forming a relationship with Mick Jagger in 2001, which was her longest relationship. For in the past, she did have 2 short-lived marriages. Mm-hmm. She was also pretty private about her life, but she was definitely plagued with anxiety, insecurity, and a whole lot of debt.
Oh, stop
I
me
feel
up.
like a lot of fashion designers, though, go into a lot of debt.
Yeah. It's a
The
very
amount of money
expensive
that you're
world.
exactly, especially like for like just materials alone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No, for sure. I mean, for me personally, that's the biggest challenge that I face as a fashion designer is the financial aspects.
yeah.
of
I'm
it.
sure.
Because it's a lot of money that's put into the creation.
It's a very risky like profession to get into.
It is. It is 1,000,000%.
After, a long period of her battling depression and a lot of, problems later in life, she was found dead by her assistant in her Chelsea apartment. She was found hanging by one of her black satin neckties, which she had tied to a door handle in her apartment and hung herself with it.
I don't understand a doorknob. I don't get it.
Robin Williams, I think, did the same thing.
How is that possible?
It's more popular.
Can somebody tell me?
Well, that's the thing. That's why I wanted to make this into a topic, because there's another suicide I'm going to talk about too, or it's a doorknob situation.
I never understood that. Like, how long is the rope?
Yeah.
You always see in film and
I don't think it's that
television
long.
that it's
Yeah.
like
If we
coming
w-
from the ceiling. Nothing, but I feel like, and listen, I'm not condoning suicide.
No.
But I feel like the doorknob is probably a longer and more drawn out
One would think.
death
Yeah.
than it would be like if you, like, I believe McQueen was like hanging in the closet.
Yeah, I tried to look up like the autopsy stuff and the details, but it is impossible to find.
It's probably padlocked.
I'm
You
sure.
have to think about what kind of doorknobs are
Yeah.
they? Are they round? Are they cylindrical?
How
Are they,
tall is the room?
Yeah, how high up is the doorknob?
Yeah.
Are they
So-
using a rope? Are they using
Yeah.
a belt? Are they?
Yeah.
But can we also just add some controversy for Loren Scott? Years ago, I heard that, listen, I don't claim this to be true, but Loren Scott was turning 50, and Mick Jagger told her, I don't date anybody who's 50 or above. And that also contributed.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, I don't know.
I can believe it.
I wasn't there.
Also, he has a reputation of being a
Yes,
hoe.
he was. Mark actually was in the room when it happened.
I was there, but don't tell
Don't tell
Mick Jagger.
anybody. Don't tell Mick Jagger.
Yeah, he doesn't know I was there.
So when she was found, her assistant had arrived at the apartment that morning at 10 a.m. where she saw her slumped dead on the kitchen floor, her neck tied to the door handle to their balcony. It is said that she used a necktie because apparently that's more effective in committing suicide. Her final Instagram post, which was removed after her death, said, "Fashion is the armor to survive the reality of life." So it's almost kind of like, the persona that you put on, like I know I wear a lot of like leather and chain and all that stuff. And it's like my way of saying like, don't fuck with me. I'm a badass and I'm angry.
Of course. It's like fashion tells stories.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
You can tell a lot by just looking at how somebody dresses and somebody puts themselves together.
Yeah.
This is debatable, but at the time her company was going bankrupt and allegedly her and Mick Jagger's romantic relationship was coming to an end. Like you said.
Mark was in the room when it happened, everybody.
I was there. I was under the bed and I was going, stop me up.
Yeah.
Stop me up and I'm a number. Never stop.
But he's
Never
like,
stop.
he's old as fuck. So
He is.
He's like 75
But he's
now. Like,
ran
who
through
is
women. Jerry Hall.
Who is he to say?
Who was
like,
he to
you're too
say
old?
that Jerry Hall wasn't good enough?
Let me tell you something. I wouldn't fuck him when he was younger, and I wouldn't fuck him when he was older. That man
Fact.
is ugly
Yeah.
as fuck.
Yeah, and he
I
remains
would
that.
only screw him for his money.
I mean,
The
yeah,
end.
absolutely.
That man is ugly.
Yeah.
Here's one really fucking weird thing about her death.
Oh, tell
Okay,
us.
this is really eerie.
We need it.
So the most eerie thing about her death was a Facebook/Twitter post which was posted just a few hours after her death.
Oh.
It should also be noted that her posts were on a schedule.
So she
Scheduled
kind of
posts.
scheduled them
Scheduled
ahead
posts.
of time.
I schedule them sometimes for Bizarre
I think
Buffet.
a lot of influencers do that too. Call back to our last episode,
Yeah.
Courtney Clenny.
Courtney Clenny. Jesus, cross, and boobs.
Yeah.
I didn't do nothing. Cuban food.
So her posts were scheduled. The last post that was like scheduled that they had to remove is really weird. It's a photo. It's quite an unusual coincidence considering the circumstances of her death.
Oh boy.
In this post, we see a tree in a very dark forest, and it's brightly illuminated. From this tree, multiple dresses are suspended by hangers from multiple tree branches.
Were they her
almost-
dresses?
Almost looking like hanging bodies. I don't know if they were her dresses. I'm going to assume yes.
Okay.
But the dresses look like hanging bodies that were lynched. After the post,
They look like hanging prom gowns off of like, it looks like the Disney princesses in a tree.
Yeah, but I can see the connection.
Yeah.
it looks like hanging.
It's a very interesting photo.
So if you're listening, we do have a YouTube channel, so we're gonna
Yeah, and
post
the photo will be listed.
It's very bizarre.
It is.
And a lot of her followers were upset by the image because it looks like bodies hanging from a tree, and she died by strangulation. Listen, I wasn't a fan of like her designs. I'm like, whatever.
You don't have to be.
I don't have to be a fan of her designs.
It's okay.
I always thought that post was so weird.
It is. And part
It
of
makes her death more strange.
it does. And I can tell you, like every so often I make schedule posts for the podcast. I can say that if somebody wanted to, in theory, and they were to map out a time, I'm not saying that anybody should fucking do this. Don't do it.
Don't.
If somebody is very serious about doing something like suicide, they would probably have an idea of when they could make a post that would come out after their death.
Yeah.
If they really have it mapped out and they're like, this is the end all be all.
We're going to move on to the last one.
All right.
This one's a little more recent. We're going to talk about the suicide of Kate Spade.
I forgot
Kate
that.
Spade.
I forgot that she passed from suicide.
I feel like she was in a cluster with like Robin Williams. I feel like they were in a similar time.
Well, there's a tie between her.
Oh,
tie,
shit.
Pun intended or no pun intended.
Tie. Let's get into
There's
it.
a tie kind of between her and Robin Williams.
Wow.
Interesting.
Okay.
She was another like iconic fashion designer.
She sure was.
She
She has
unfortunately
fun prints.
Yeah.
Like patterns.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yes.
fun patterns.
She does.
Yeah.
So her death was in 2018, so it's more recent.
Yeah.
So Kate Spade, she was born in 1962. She was born as Catherine Noel Brosnahan.
Oh, Kate
Brosnahan.
Spade sounds better
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Kate Spade was the founder and co-owner of her brand, Kate Spade.
York.
At Kate Spade.
Kate Spade. Originally, she was born in Kansas City, Missouri, to parents who owned a construction company. While in college, she studied journalism in hopes of getting into like television production. During that time in 1985, she worked in a men's clothing store where she met her future husband, Andy Spade.
David Spade's brother.
David Spade's brother.
I did not realize that was a connection.
I didn't
Yeah.
either until I was doing all this
I
research.
did not realize that David Spade was an actual connection to
Yeah.
Kate Spade.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though? It's like David Spade, it sounds like such a stage name that it's not like
Real.
a legal name.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So I always thought it was just like a coincidence.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a good name
It
for
is.
business and stage.
For sure.
And when I was doing my research, I saw this TV interview, and it was with David Spade, and it was shortly after the death of Kate Spade. He was like promoting like a book, like an audio book that he was doing, and a new movie he did. At the end of the interview, and because he's like a comedian,
Right.
it was like very lighthearted and everything. And at the end, the news anchor lady was like one of those like "Good Morning America" sort of thing. She was like, "I just want to acknowledge the death of your sister-in-law, Kate Spade." Da, 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 da. Like everyone loved her. And he got like emotional, and it was really sad because, like, you know, you're used
Because
to
he's
seeing
so
him in comedy.
funny.
Yeah, he's very funny.
And she was just saying like it's a tragedy. We're all like upset about this. And you could just tell, like, he was really devastated. And coming from, like, a comedian. David Spade's brother, Andy Spade, eventually, you know, did become Kate Spade's husband and future business partner. A year later, I believe in like 1986, Kate and her husband moved to Manhattan. Kate worked in an accessories department at Mademoiselle.
Mademoiselle.
Mademoiselle. Bonjour.
Bonjour. At Mademoiselle, she achieved senior fashion editor / head of accessories in 1991.
Yes, girl.
And it was during this time she realized and noticed that the fashion market lacked affordable yet stylish handbags.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she's like, all right, I'm going to start my own label.
Good for her.
Yeah.
So she starts her own label in 1993. Her design style was very practical in shape, with a little like vintage kind of influences.
It was kind of Prada-esque.
Very Prada-esque, but with like a quirky element.
I feel like it's like if Prada and Betsy Johnson made a baby.
Yeah, I could see that.
Right?
Yeah.
So often you would see like very bold floral prints, you would see polka dots, you would see a lot of these like whimsical colors.
For some people listening who may not be from America, I don't know if this would translate exactly, but Kate Spade in like the 90s / early 2000s was like the shit. That was a name that like if you had a Kate Spade bag, it was like
It still is a pretty fucking big deal.
Yeah. I mean, Kate Spade still, even today, still exists.
I think I put like a Kate Spade picture frame on my wedding registry.
That's really nice. What does it look like?
I think it's green. I gotta find it and then I'll send you a picture.
Yeah, I would like to see it. But anyway.
But yes, Kate Spade
Kate
has
Spade
like...
has stood the test of time.
She has.
Yeah.
Well, eventually she launched her first line, which consisted of 6 handbags. Her husband had basically, like, he had to really help fund it, so he pulled out his 401k to help finance this. After showing her first collection, her line caught the mainstream attention because her bags were like moderately priced between like $150 to $450, where at a time like a Gucci bag was like $1,200. Like she was definitely obtainable, but still in that like luxury-esque vibe.
Like it's an elevated item, but like regular people could buy this.
Yeah. You know, like a normal person would get like a Kate Spade bag for their birthday or Christmas.
Yeah, for sure.
Her bags caught on quickly. They caught on so quickly that Anna Wintour even said that it was impossible to walk one city block in New York and not see someone wearing a Kate Spade bag.
Damn.
Which I don't know if that was like a compliment or like a jab.
Well, it's Anna Wintour, so it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell.
So as time progressed, you know, Kate Spade's company grew more and more. They began to, you know, make ready-to-wear accessories, eyewear, gift objects like a frame.
I got a frame, bitch.
But, like, there's a lot of household items now, too.
They
that
expand
are Kate
it.
Spade.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
there isn't like an interview that they have, and she's like walking through her beautiful apartment penthouse or whatever in New York City, and there's a lot of like art objects in it. So she was definitely like very passionate about that as well.
That's very cool.
And there's even a short-lived men's line called Jack Spade, which a lot of people don't know about.
I know Jack Spade. It was they did a lot of men's bags.
Her business did grow. In 2004, she eventually sold 56% of her business to Neiman Marcus. Great call.
Yeah.
Smart.
How did it tank later?
Smart. Very smart. That's something Michael Kors should have done. So she sold 56% of her business to Neiman Marcus, which helped her business expand globally. 2 years later, she sold the remaining 44% of her business.
Even smarter.
To Neiman Marcus. So she was smart as fuck.
She was removed entirely.
Yeah. I'm like, good for you. Exactly. She was removed.
Wow.
Even though, you know, when they died in the Kate Spade Retail Corporation that was bought out by Coach, they're like, she was still really involved in the business. And they say that about everyone.
Of course they do.
Was she really involved, or did she just do like visits every now and then at the flagship?
She probably didn't even do visits.
Like, after selling ownership to Kate Spade, you know, she did this so she could take several years off to focus on raising her newborn daughter, who was born in 2005.
Oh, wow.
It was really about just spending time with family. And she got, like, I think 120 or 130 million dollars for selling it. So
Damn Spade.
that's awesome.
Moving Kate to Damn Spade.
Yeah, like, that's pretty fucking badass.
Yeah.
2 years later, 2018, a housekeeper finds Kate Spade dead in her Manhattan apartment with a suicide note, which was addressed to her daughter, who was 13 years old at the time. She was found hung by a scarf, which she had tied to a doorknob.
I don't understand it, but okay.
Yeah, I don't either at all. No.
And to be more, you know, gruesome and morbid, the suicide note, it said that she loved her daughter and that it was not her daughter's fault. And then she told her daughter to, quote unquote, ask daddy. So at that time, her and her husband were separated. They were not living together. Her husband stated that Kate suffered from both depression and anxiety for many years. She was actively seeking help with doctors to treat her disease. He also mentions that they were in touch the night before her death, and she seemed completely happy and normal, which I feel like is a common theme in a lot of suicide
Well, that's
situations.
also a thing too.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of times people with depression, it's I have depression and like it ebbs and it flows. Like
Yeah,
there
it
are
does.
days where it's like you can be like on a high and life is amazing, and then the next day it's like you feel worthless.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had experience with the same thing.
So
you
it's
know?
like I always get
it.
annoyed when people are like, "Well, everything was fine the day before, but that was yesterday.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly.
Today's a new day."
Yeah,
Correct.
and it's like, and if this woman suffered with this for a very long time,
Exactly.
you know,
Like
so
that shit always pisses me off with suicides, and people are like, "Well, everything was fine."
Yeah.
exactly.
It's easy for someone who's never dealt with depression or anxiety to be like, "Oh yeah, everything was
yeah,
fine.
you look fine.
You look fine.
You don't seem sad.
You don't seem sad." Yeah.
All those bullshit fucking responses that people love.
Yeah.
Fucking hate that shit.
After her death, her sister, you know, spoke to the Daily Mail and other like news publications, mentioning that Kate was bipolar and also obsessed with Robin Williams' suicide.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah.
But you know what though?
Oh,
like
boy.
if you were to ask me a celebrity death that like you're still not over, like for me it's Robin Williams.
So do you think it could have been the same for her?
It could have been. I just find it like it's very hard for me to like watch his movies.
Yeah.
Still to this day.
Yeah, I get it.
Well, when I was doing my research for this, I went down like so many of these fucking rabbit holes, and that's why it took me so long to like put this episode together. There was a psychologist who analyzed interview footage of celebrities that killed themselves.
Interesting.
One of them being Robin Williams, and he said that a lot of people that deal with anxiety and depression make great comedians because
do.
they're like projecting that onto themselves, they're deflecting,
Yeah.
and it makes perfect sense. And he also did Kate Spade as well, and he was talking about how in some of her interviews later in life, she starts to close her eyes for longer periods of time during her responses.
Wow.
And that from his angle, that is an indicator that her closing her eyes for extended periods of time meant that she did not want to be present in that situation.
Yeah.
Which
You
was a
can-
red
yeah,
flag for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I could see that.
But then also I could also be like, well, maybe her fucking eyes were dry that day. Like
Yeah.
you don't
I know.
really know.
I know, but
Exactly.
there's a million.
But these sorts of situations do make you think about
They
things
do.
and
Of course.
look deeper into everything.
Yeah, of
You
course.
know? To close up the Kate Spade saga, her sister said that Kate was self-medicating with alcohol and didn't want to seek help for it could quote unquote damage her brand. And her brand was very much like happy-go-lucky. Take that with a grain of salt. You know, the rest of the family disagreed with this one sister that came out of the woodwork.
Could that be a possibility? Of course it
Yeah.
could be,
I
but
mean, it
she
always
didn't even
could
own
be.
the brand anymore. And I don't
Yeah.
think anybody would know Kate Spade walking down the street and be like, oh, Kate Spade, like the handbags. I highly
Yeah.
doubt it. But anyway.
So to close this episode out, for me, these stories, they always kind of stuck with me because I found it very unusual that 3 highly successful fashion designers all chose the same methods for suicide. It's sad that they killed themselves, but it's even sadder that they did it by hanging and strangulation. I feel like that's not like an easy way to go. Thinking about this, it makes me wonder, is there any meaning behind it? Why did they all choose this method of suicide? Is it just because it's convenient and effective, or was there something deeper to it? And I also feel that with like Alexander McQueen, all of his designs was basically a warning sign leading up to his suicide.
It definitely, it was. Like I said earlier, like you could see his pain through his work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And on the contrary, if you look at Loren Scott and Kate Spade, their design aesthetic was the complete polar opposite.
It was.
It's very whimsical and safe and commercial. So I just wonder, like, with these specific designers, why was it strangulation that they chose? And I do know that there are a lot of other fashion designers that have committed suicide aside from just them, but these are like the 3 high profile ones, and the 3 that they all did it in very similar ways, and I think that's very bizarre.
Oh yeah,
it is. I think in the case of Alexander McQueen, like his particularly was a reflection of his depression and various things that he was working through emotionally, mentally. But I think in terms of Kate Spade and Loren Scott, who are people who aren't doing things about corpses and skeletons, they're an example of people who are essentially like the people who mask.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? The people who are like, I'm fine, but meanwhile, they're the people who are suffering the most.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of like the strangulation method, I don't know where or why, because I feel like all 3 examples are perfect examples of people who could have depression and different illnesses. So, it's interesting.
it is.
Did they all kill themselves at one of their brand items?
I don't. I wonder that.
Mark.
I don't. Think,
I mean, listen.
Never know.
I'm wondering.
I think Loren Scott did.
Really?
Yeah.
I heard Kate Spade. I thought I heard. Don't quote me on this.
It would make sense.
Well, you were in the room when Mick Jagger told Loren Scott.
I was when he told her
doesn't date anyone over 50.
I was, and then at the same time, when Kate Spade sold the remaining share of her company, Kate Spade Inc., trademark,
You were also there.
I was also there for that.
You were also in the basement that Alexander McQueen lived in.
I went with Isabella Blow.
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly. You were there.
She did, but it's funny because Isabella Blow was a quote-unquote fashion icon, but she used weed killer rather than strangulation.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with fashion.
Very interesting.
That has
Very
to do with killing
interesting, though,
weeds.
that all 3 decided to hang themselves.
Wow. Well,
Very interesting coincidence. That was very good, Mark.
yeah,
Thank you.
That was great.
That was great.
And anytime we talk about suicide, we tell everyone don't do it. Call.
Yeah, seriously,
Call the suicide
it is.
hotline.
Yeah.
We are not encouraging suicide. If you're thinking about it, call 988. For the love of God, do it.
So in the meantime, go on patreon.com/bizarre buffet.
You can.
You absolutely can, because you should live and thrive and help us.
You subscribing to Patreon helps us be able to provide you with content.
It
Don't
does.
you want some awesome content week after week from us?
I know.
Obviously.
Week after week, we're out here.
Subscribing on
Trickin'.
our Patreon, you will get a handmade pin from Bizarre Buffet. Sir, if you go to the highest level tier, you get blindfolded drawings.
You get a bunch of shit,
You
okay?
get so much awesome shit.
Yeah,
Check out
why
our
don't you just
website.
do it because you love
Our
us.
website breaks it down, bizarrebuffet.com.
There you
yeah.
go. Instagram at Bizarre Buffet. Facebook at Bizarre Buffet.
Just love us.
Just love us.
Love
Show
on
your
us.
support. Share
Yeah.
our videos, or else we're going to Loren Scott ourselves.
Yeah.
On YouTube and on audio.
Also, I'm a fashion designer myself, and if you don't want me to hang myself, follow me on Instagram.
Yeah, at Mark Torriello. Until next time, I'm not over 50, and Mick Jagger would date me.
And I'm the bed that Mark hid under while he listened to that conversation that Mick Jagger had with Lorenz Scott.
I'm Mark Torriello because I'm the fashion designer.
Yes.
Too selfish to commit suicide.
Yeah.
There you go. Be too selfish. Don't commit suicide.
Start me up with the Rolling Stones.